Alright guys, today we're going to be reacting to what I have learned Germans are really like after 4 years of living in Germany, Deutschland. That is, Deutschland. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for tuning in to this new video. We're going to be reacting to this individual that said that, he learned a couple things from, living in Germany. And I think this is a great idea. I think this is one of the things I really like about Americans. We tend to go to all the other places, get that experience, and just let it just sit on us for a little bit, right? And then we can just, end up in a different conclusion before we got that experience. And that's very common with a lot of people, especially with me when I travel around Europe. And I came back, I have a different experience and a different appreciation for a lot of things. So I like to just watch these kind of videos. Thank you so much for the support. This video was brought from one of my subscribers. He put it in the reaction section on my Discord. Links in the description, and also as a pinned comment in the comment section below. Just make sure you just go there and you be part of the family. Right? We have over more than 50 members so far. Amazing. We're gonna just react to this. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let's just jump in.
Everything you ever thought about Germans, because here's what I found they are really like. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am Donnie, and along with my wife Aubrey, we are two Americans currently.
You know what? He sounds like somebody that knows a lot of languages. You can tell by the accent. He probably just learned a couple languages.
Living in Germany with our baby, sharing all of our experiences living and traveling throughout Europe. Foreign cultures are often unfortunately put into very specific boxes, and Germans are no exception to this. Foreigners think of Germans as being lovers of lederhosen, passionate about beer, fired up by soccer, excited by white sausages, and jubilant about Oktoberfest. But we moved to Germany to find out what Germans are really like, and for example, what they
I have a different perception of Germany. I thought I only went to Austria, not Germany, but Austria for only a couple hours. But I have a very different perception of the Deutsch culture. Very organized, very strict, punctual, love to the classical music, and very clean. That's my perception. Outside of that, the beer and stuff like that, I think that's come as a third, fourth thoughts. I will say, like, it's not even in the first line of thinking when it comes down to the stereotypes. So I think everybody's different.
They are really passionate about, rather than these tropes about Bavaria that are falsely applied to all of Germany. Well, except for the soccer thing. That's generally pretty true about all of Germany. So what things have we learned Germans are truly passionate about after moving to Germany? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today in my video. A lack of passion? Or just different things in fashion? Southwestern German state, therefore Rheinland-Pfalz. Therefore, some of these things I talk about may be a little more specific to these two places. I also will obviously only be talking about a few handfuls of my personal experiences and discoveries, not every possible thing that could be talked about on this subject. Therefore, let me know all of your own personal experiences with these things in the comments below. I first came to Germany in 2014 during a study abroad program in college. I remember one of the first culture shocks that I experienced was that I felt like I was in Germany, but at the same time, I didn't really feel like I was in Germany. What I mean is, I was coming from a country where patriotism and pride in the nation is incredibly evident everywhere you look, with American flags flying, the national anthem being played at all sporting events, saying the Pledge of Allegiance before school, and therefore, when you're in the US, you really know you are in the US. But in Germany, there was none of this. As I looked for visual representations that I was in a different country, for example, primarily in simply seeing the German flag flying, I couldn't find it. I remember going back to the States and telling everybody how I learned that Germans don't really have a strong sense of patriotism and don't really have a lot of pride in their country.
But isn't that by purpose though? Because of the Second World War? Isn't that in purpose? Like, this is not like an aftermath of because of the war? Let me know in the comment section if I'm wrong to just thinking in those lines. Let me know.
Itself, or at least don't have it on display. In fact,
Correct.
I might even go as far as to say that it seemed almost like there was pride in not taking a strong pride in their nation. This has also seemed to become one of America's favorite fun facts about Germany, as they describe how since World War II, where there was an overabundance of patriotism in the Third Reich, that today most Germans don't feel comfortable displaying the same level of patriotism in the new Bundesrepublik. However, after we later moved to Germany, and in the 4.5 years that we have lived here, I think I've discovered a little secret to the pride Germans feel about where they come from, and that is, generally in Germany, there is often actually a much stronger sense of local pride rather than national pride per se.
Interesting. That is an interesting point. More like a local pride rather than a national pride? Huh.
This also is outside of World Cup time. Bavaria is a great example of this. For example, in Bavaria, you will find Bavarian flags everywhere you look, or even more localized pride in where one comes from than just general Bavaria. You don't ever want to make the mistake of calling a Franconian a Bavarian, despite Franconia being found inside the borders of Bavaria. Or in our region, the Pfalz. Pride in the wine culture, and specifically Weinschorle being drunk out of a regional glass called a Dubeglas, can be found being worn proudly on shirts, on jewelry, used as lighting fixtures or other home decor, or some even going as far as getting it tattooed on their skin. This can also be found in the pride in the local brewery, or how when you travel from region to region or city to city, you are expected to drink the local brew. For example, only drinking a Kulsch in Dusseldorf or an Altbier in Cologne. If you want to...
But you know what? Hear me out. I think that's a great mentality, because not only you are, how can I say this? Not only you promoting the local businesses, but you also helping the local business and the local economy to make sure the money just stay there. So I think that's a great idea.
Example of local pride and rivalries, go ahead and read the comments reacting to what I just said. Overall, I seem to have found that Germans don't necessarily lack pride in where they come from. They just don't share that pride with a nation, but reserve it more so for local.
Well, because there's not enough time. They just finished a war almost 70 years ago, so there's not of course, with a lot of the sentiments of not showing a lot of pride post Second World War, in my opinion, I think that has diminished or slowed the process of having some pride into the country. So that's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Local regional pride.
Interesting.
Generally speaking. Before moving to Germany, I had no idea just how outdoorsy Germans generally tend to be. We've talked before in our videos about the limited right to roam we enjoy in Germany, where there are hiking and walking paths zigzagging all over Germany and across the countryside that Germans regularly enjoy. Or where we expected to find high European fashion when we moved to Europe, we were instead surprised to find the mark of a true German is the outdoor clothing brand Jack Wolfskin. Where we once thought a stereotypical German will have a beer in hand, now we know they actually have Nordic hiking poles in hand. And actually, these are the perfect representation of the culture shock we had about the passion Germans have for hiking. When we first moved here, we would see a few people walking our town streets using hiking poles, and since we had only ever seen them when people were hiking mountains in, say, Colorado, we thought they looked a little out of place on our city's perfectly smooth, flat, and paved streets. But then we started noticing more and more Germans using them in situations we never would have thought someone would need hiking poles. And also, young people were using them where we thought maybe it was just an elderly thing to use them so they could keep their balance while walking. I have now learned they supposedly have much greater health benefits and uses. Nordic hiking poles are to keep you upright and take pressure off your joints. They also engage more of your body.
I agree with that, because I used to do a lot of door knocking back in the day when I used to work in New York City. I used to do sales door knock, door to door. And one thing that comes after that, or the secondary effect of doing a lot of walking for hours. I used to walk for 8 to 12 hours a day. It was crazy. Your lower back. So it makes sense why having those sticks in your hands, it takes some of the pressure out of your lower back. It makes sense.
Muscles than walking rather than just your legs, as they also engage the upper body, which is supposed to provide more calorie burning benefits. So with Germans stereotypically loving efficiency, it only makes sense that they would love using something that can take your normal low calorie burning walk and turn it into a full body efficient calorie burning exercise. Speaking of Germans' love for nature and hiking, I think you all would be excited about what my friends over at Planet Wild are doing. Planet Wild is a nature protection organization funding ecosystem restoration projects to preserve our nature and wildlife. Stick around to the end of the video to find out how you can get involved and see what they are doing. This next thing Germans are passionate about initially surprised me for two different reasons. One, because I stereotype Germans as being very orderly and strict. I assume this next thing wouldn't be the way that it is, as it seems like it would lead to disorder, at least based off of my experience in the US. And two, once I saw why it is the way that it is, it made total sense to me why Germans do this and still maintains order. And that is, dogs are everywhere in Germany. On trains, in stores, in restaurants, in cafes. There will also be dogs there. In the US, what I am more used to is dogs staying at homes or in parks, and then only service dogs being allowed where humans go. However, one thing we have definitely learned since moving to Germany is that Germans are dog lovers, and one of the reasons why it seems to be the case that dogs in Germany are more prevalent in society is because, generally speaking, Germans seem to be very passionate about training their dogs. Typically, we'll go, for example, to a coffee shop, someone will come in with their dog, and the dog will perfectly lay under the table or sit by the side of the owner and not make a sound. I've also been amazed at how often I'm walking around a busy city and Germans are walking around with their dogs off a leash as they perfectly follow their human without straying off course or getting distracted and taking off. In the US, I would say, again, very generally speaking, you will always find dogs on leashes, and not only that, they will be pulling their owners all over the sidewalk as they try and pave their own way. Besides that, dogs in the
we're getting better with that, on that regard. However, we still have a long way to go when it comes down to discipline our dogs. I don't have a dog. I'm a dog lover. I used to have dogs, and I still have dogs in Puerto Rico for my family. But even though I've been with dogs all my life, I have to recognize that we do lack a lot when it comes down to disciplining dogs.
The US just don't generally seem to have the training and discipline that German dogs do to be able to go to all these public spaces and be expected to not be a distraction or annoyance. Again, you obviously will find very well trained dogs in the US, and in Germany I have seen, for example, one dog actually attack his owner on a train one day. But as a general theme, Germany has been surprisingly much more dog friendly than I expected, and the dogs are much better trained than in the US. However, I will say that the dog owners in Germany could use some more training and being more passionate about picking up poop after their dogs. If you ask any American what they think of when they think of traveling in Europe, or specifically in Germany, one thing they are bound to mention are the amazing bakeries. After we moved to Germany, we immediately became obsessed with going to our local family-run bakery and trying all the assorted baked goods, in particular, the bread. Germans are particularly and rightfully proud of and passionate for their bread. In fact, we have made an entire video on the subject of German bread where we even visited the German Bread Museum in Ulm. But let's stop for a second because I want to ask you a question. When I say the word bread, what image pops in your mind? If you're German, you may have had a bit of a mouth-watering montage of various breads play through your head. But if you're American, you probably thought of... So just how proud of their bread are Germans? Well, I actually almost started a war.
I was not thinking about that. I was thinking more about like a regular white bread. That's what I was thinking about. That the slice bread was the last one that I was thinking. But I had to recognize our bread has a lot of sugar. It's very unhealthy.
In the comments of one video where I asked you guys if the French or Germans make better bread, for one. Two, Germany has a German Bread Institute that has an official registry of all the different types of breads in Germany, which has over 3,000 types of bread registered. Three, UNESCO added Germany's bread culture to its intangible cultural heritage list. Four, they have TV shows dedicated to the worship of a depressed loaf of bread. And five, this is not even considered bread in Germany. So the word for bread in German, toast bread, but because it really isn't considered true bread in Germany, it is often just referred to as toast. That's right, in Germany, even when it has not even been near a toaster, it is still called toast. Whereas in the US, for this bread to be called toast, it has to first be, wait for it, toasted. So what's this all about? Why don't Germans just refer to this type of bread as, well, bread? Well, to a German, all this soft, squishy bread is good for is
Yeah.
making toast. And
Yeah, that's the problem. Squeezy, fluffy, twingy kind of bread. You know that it's good. When you get a bite of it, it feels good, but it's very unhealthy. You can feel the sugar going through your body. I don't eat that kind of bread. I don't. It's just very unhealthy. It's very unhealthy.
as a German explains in a forum I found online, if you did not want to toast it, you would buy proper bread. So for our German audience now, I do have a question for you. Do you fit the stereotype that when you leave the country, the number one thing you miss is
The bread.
German bread?
Oh man, just imagine these Germans trying Puerto Rican bread. That white bread, that squishy white bread. That way that you can literally just break it with your hands. Oh man, they're not gonna like it. Actually, you might like it though. You might like it. You might like. Oh man, this is too good.
Something every foreigner in Germany always initially is shocked by is the passion Germans feel for waste management in the German trash
Good,
system.
man.
In fact, Germans are so passionate about trash separation. When we first moved here, we were given a 33-page guidebook to the German trash system. And for when we have family or friends coming to visit, we have added labels to all of our various trash cans, and we give a mini orientation to them, all just so they know how to throw something away. Typically, we'll spend the week or two they are visiting consulting them every time they have to throw something away, and often the general progression of things goes from laughter and astonishment when they first arrive to frustration by the end of the trip because they can't ever simply throw something out with having to ask how to do it.
But you know what's
Or
crazy?
sometimes we'll
That creates societal order and a sense of duty in the society. I'm in favor of this. Actually, I'm in favor. I'm very strongly in favor of this. Very strongly. That teach humans to have a sense of duty. A sense of duty. If we're paying taxes, might as well create a system that we all can get along and have some rules. That teach the Germans to follow the rules.
We'll even just find mini piles of trash that they want us to sort for them and fear that they might mess it up if they did it themselves. Now, this is usually when some German viewers like to make jokes about how they can't believe that Americans don't know how to recycle, and to some extent, yes, depending on where our American friends or family are coming from, we do have those that really never have been confronted with any recycling of any sort, just like we
very
hadn't.
poor areas, right? West Virginia, probably some area of Tennessee, even here in Wisconsin. I recycle. We have different binders where we can just put some of the cardboard, some of the plastic, all that stuff separated, right? But I have to recognize there's some areas that they have. I'm sorry, New York City is all about recycling. New York City in California is all about recycling. These people don't even follow their own rules, right? I just happen to believe that in the United States a little bit different. When you give freedom to people, they will do the right thing. And in these areas, recycling is a big thing.
Whenever we moved here. But we also have others where in their part of the country, they do have recycling. In fact, when we were just in Washington State visiting family, most homes had tiny Restmüll trash cans, but huge recycling trash bins, and then separate buckets for glass, jars, and bottles that were picked up at their home. So it isn't that recycling isn't done in the US, but in many ways, it's just that Germans do it so different that it can be hard to learn. Because of your guys' passion for the environment and animals, I'm really excited to introduce you to Planet Wild. Monthly, Planet Wild goes on a new mission to preserve our nature and wildlife, and then they document it on their YouTube channel. As a community member, you and I get to vote on their next mission and be part of Planet Wild's global community that restores nature and increases biodiversity.
I'm gonna leave the link in the description down below. Great video. Great video. Great video. It does give you a sense of understanding of where the Germans are. Remember, when I react to this kind of videos, it's more with the mentality of learning what the Germans are and what things I can get from them to just implement it on my own life, of course. And the fact that I'm even learning German is just crazy to think about. It's a great way to just become a better human. Great stuff. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with some of his list? It'll be interesting to know in the comment section below. In the meantime, guys, I will see you in the next one.